It's Meltdown Monday here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Lots to get into here on today's show. My voice is starting to hit a wall, and that's what the Bears do to you. But we're going to fight through. We're going to be here because that's what we do, bring you daily content, my reaction to everything surrounding this football team. We heard from Matt Eberflus a couple of hours ago. I put out a video earlier this morning after his cell phone malfunction this morning on ESPN 1000, a perfect metaphor for this team right now, just malfunctioning. So lots to get into, including your questions. So if you have any questions, fire in those super chats. We'll try to get to some hashtag Bears questions later as well. Geezer Kieran says, wow, never thought 5 wins was a prediction. At this point, to get to 5 wins, which is only one more win, you're probably going to have to pull off an upset. I think there's a real scenario, Cullen, where the Bears are underdogs the rest of the way. I mean, you just lost to New England at home by 16. Who are you going to be favored against? Maybe Seattle on Thursday after Christmas, but I doubt it.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, tough divisional games coming up. Obviously, all 6 starting with FGB this week, and yeah, it's not looking great for the Bears. So 5, 6, 7 wins. Like when we thought potentially this could be a double-digit win team this year, just hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to. Sad to say.
I've never seen a team just go completely opposite after a bye week, and especially after one play. I mean, it really does feel like the Hail Mary, not just the Hail Mary, but the lack of initial accountability from the head coach. That day, that 24-hour period just completely dismantled this team. I mean, it really does feel that way, and it's sad to watch, man. It is very sad to watch, but we got to live in reality, and that's where things sit. Shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. We will continue to let you guys sound off in the comment section down below. So let us know where you guys are rocking and rolling from. Caden says Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We got Lucas in Virginia Beach, Cranes in Salt Lake City. It defaced the whole team. Yeah, Dion, feels that way. Chuck in Destin, Florida. Mason in Lafayette. Alade from Maine. Man, we got Jeremy in Switzerland. And this is what's so amazing. Like, Bears fans are so passionate and loyal. They're everywhere. And this team continues to just accept. I wish I could use the word mediocrity. Honestly, just trash. This team's just not good. And they haven't been good for a long time. Lucas praying, I understand if you want to switch to a different team. Bears don't deserve coverage anymore. Blow everything up again. Caleb's career is toast. Skull.
He said kidding, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep covering this team. This is my squad. But, man, it's difficult. Like, getting up and talking about this team today, it's just, I feel like I'm still hopefully bringing you guys good content. That's my goal. But it'd be nice to talk about fun things. It'd be nice to celebrate some wins and growth of this quarterback and feeling good about where it's going. It's hard to feel good about anything right now when it comes to the Bears. So I just appreciate you guys continuing to tune in. I understand if you guys need a break from Bear stuff, but I will be here every day, and so will Colin. So we appreciate you guys in that regard. All right, do want to show some love to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring Chicago Bears Now. Daily fantasy made easy. I made a joke yesterday. Just take less on any Bears player stats with Prize Picks, and you're going to be in a good position because the offense is in shambles. PrizePicks.com/CLNS is the place to go sign up. When you use code CLNS, you can get a $50 bonus when you play for just $5. How do you play? Well, once you create your account, once you use the code, you just set up a lineup. 2 or more players, as long as it's 2 players on different teams, you will be good to go. I got Jaden Daniels less on his passing yards against the Eagles next week. Philly's defense has been really good the last month or so. And then I got A.J. Brown more on his receiving yards in that game as well. Doesn't have to be players within the same game. Doesn't have to be players within the same sport. You can have a football, basketball, and hockey player pick all within one entry. Just choose more or less on the stats available, and if you play for just $5, you're going to get a $50 bonus with code CLNS. So get started today. Fire off your first entry. It's PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Code CLNS. Colin's got that link in the live chat for you guys as well. Excuse me.
You're going through it today, man. You're battling.
I just got, getting that time of year. Weather starting to change a little bit. The voice is battling, so we're gonna power through. Mike G, can't believe Flus has a job. I can, but only because it's the Bears. They are a team that wants to fire a coach midseason. The McCaskey seem to be proud of that tradition that they've never done it, and it's like, well, are you proud to ruin another quarterback? Because that's where this is going. Are you proud to get your ass beat at home by the garbage Patriots 19-3? Because that's what just happened. And not wanting to make a big change after that, I don't understand. It's year 3. It's not year 1. It's not year 2. It's year 3. Like, come on, man. Like, what else do we have to see, Colin? Like, do the Packers have to beat you this week at Soldier Field 38-10 for you to consider making a change? Because I don't know about you guys, but the Packers are a 6-point favorite right now. That feels – I might alt-line them 13.5 and take the Packers. Like – I promise you this, I'll give a score prediction at some point this week. It will be Packers big. There's no way I'm even predicting this game to be close.
Ooh, okay. Little random NFL news. Seahawks are releasing linebacker Tyrell Dotson, who started every game from this year. Random news, sorry, it just popped up. But in terms of Eberflus, listen, I think he's the coach the rest of the year. I think he is. Like, if you would have told me after a performance like this, given how the last 3 weeks, and really the whole season, but especially the last 3 weeks have gone, and Eberflus still has a job as we sit here talking as of right now, I don't know what could potentially get him fired. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be unforeseen, just disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I know the McCaskies hate losing to the Packers. Well, you're about to be embarrassed. Like, maybe that would spark them to do something, but doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like, and we'll get to Flus in a minute, but based on some comments he made today, it feels like he's got plenty of power and control on this thing. So that's very worrisome moving forward. Tricky, what are the chances ownership is prohibiting Poles from firing Flus? I mean, it's greater than 0, but can we hear from the GM? Can we hear from Kevin Warren? Like, where are these guys? They're just nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. So certainly a chance, Tricky, but Poles has been pretty vocal in his support of Eberflus in the past. So I don't know. He may not want to make the move either. It's hard to know, Tricky. I wish I had a better answer. Enixon, thoughts after Flus speaking today? What a joke. I mean, it was a total embarrassment. I think we all saw it coming. Like, first of all, he has his interview with ESPN 1000 this morning, and his phone disconnects 3 times. I mean, that is embarrassing. Whether it's some people have gone full conspiracy. They think it's intentional. I don't know about that, but either way, I mean, just don't do the interview if that's going to happen. And 2, the presser, I mean, no energy, body language poor, just vague answers, very predictable. Very predictable. You knew it was going to be bad, and it was bad. So we'll talk about all that, but yeah, it was a total embarrassment for the franchise. Tom, Caleb is making a lot of changes at the line. Is it possible he's making too many changes or changing into the wrong plays, or is this all on Waldron? I don't think it's all on one guy. To this point, though, and it does sound like they're probably going to either demote or fire Waldron. We'll get to that in a minute as well. I do think you may just have to take a step back with Caleb in terms of, hey, like, let's simplify things. You don't have to make every check. You don't have to do all this extra stuff at the line of scrimmage. Let's just dumb things down a little bit and try to get some confidence built back up because he feels overwhelmed. The O-line's not protecting. The routes guys are running. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter, but JT O'Sullivan, who does the QB school breakdowns, he's been kind of a hater on DJ Moore for a while, and I've pushed back on him for a while, but last few weeks things continue to pop up. You know that throw Colin yesterday, just the simple out route that he just skipped to him? Well, if you watch it on the film, and I'm not saying it would have been a ball that would have hit him in the chest or anything, but that's a ball where DJ's just got to flatten out to the sideline. he's drifting upfield. By the time Caleb throws it, from when he left his break to where he ends up, he's at least 3 yards north of when he got out of his break. I mean, that is horrible attention to detail. When you go into your break, you got to go straight horizontal to the sideline. That's an out route. Like, it's almost like he ran like a short corner. It was atrocious.
Like I did see that.
I think it's one of those where if he runs that, if he flattens straight to the sideline, it's probably still low, but he at least has a shot at it.
Right.
Whereas you watch it live and you're like, what is Caleb doing? That's why I think I made a comment. I was like, he can't be that far off, can he? Like, that was so far off. And then you see these little details. You're like, oh, well, the guy ends up 3.5 yards north of where he should be. That makes a pretty big difference on a short route throw.
Yeah, 100%. And, I mean, it'd be one thing if he was trying to, lengthen the route to potentially get to the first down marker.
Yeah, or if it's based on the coverage or something. But it's like, it's an open out. Now, should the throw have been closer and more catchable? Because I do think it's still low, even if he just flattens that out. Yes, but I also think, and Daniel Jeremiah pointed this out, and they did this with Fields too, because Fields, when Nagy was his coach, was way more aggressive. And then with Getsy and Flus, it's almost like they teach their quarterbacks, just don't make a mistake. And what's one thing Caleb has not done? He's not turning the ball over. But, like, is he too gun-shy where he's like, I've been coached to not turn the ball over? Because that type of throw where he threw that, it's not getting picked off, right? It's low and outside.
Yep.
He didn't throw it with confidence, so it's like –
it's either his guy's getting it or no one's getting it.
Where, like, obviously, depending on where you're at in the game, you want to do that with certain throws, like especially like, like jump balls in the end zone or something, like throw it where only your guy can get it. But, like, dude, it's a 5-yard fucking out. Just put it on him. Like, I don't know. It feels like there's more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it reminds me of the quote, and again, you could probably attest to this more than I can, but when Justin Fields last year said he felt robotic kind of under Luke Getsy and just kind of the schemes and everything. Now, again, part of that I'm not going to deny was on Getsy because obviously he's the OC. He's communicating directly with Justin and everything.
He's also already been fired again in a completely different organization.
Right, but I mean, you see how Caleb, again, is being cautious, not really putting the ball in harm's way. It kind of seems almost just out of sorts and, hesitant like you're saying. And then, again, Eberflus was the guy that, brought Getsy in on his staff. He brought Shane Waldron in on his staff. And I'm sure that he's communicated, relayed to them, hey, don't put the ball in harm's way because we believe in our defense.
He also meets with Caleb one-on-one every week. Like, and what is Eberflus's style and personality? Well, just look at his defense. He's not really that aggressive-minded. He's a guy that wants to bring four and win on the back end. Like, so I think his message, and he always talks about this offense to defense, the ball, the ball, the ball. You have to value the ball. And look, I get it. I don't want him to throw 3 picks a game, but, like, I'd rather let him start ripping it and turn the ball over some than just go 3 and out all the time and take sacks because you're holding the ball too long. Like, it's just there's red flags everywhere. There's red flags everywhere. So, Tom, I know it was kind of a long answer, but there you go. Appreciate all the super chats. Got a few more to get through. We'll keep this rolling here. Terry, what's up, Harrison? We need to fix this offense. You mean offensive line? We can't keep sending this young talent out and end up getting sacked 9 times. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a Schefter mentioned on McAfee today that there could be a thought to bench Caleb for Bagent. Now, that would have infuriated me because it would look like you're just pinning it all on him. But, like, it'd be one thing if Ryan Poles fired Eberflus, went to the podium and was like, hey, we're going to sit Caleb for the next 2 weeks because we're getting him killed and our coaches are not developing him properly. We're going to let him take a breath and put Tyson Bagent in there. I could hear that. What I would refuse to stand for is if they didn't make any coaching changes and just bench the quarterback. In other words, just blame the player. Now, they're not doing that, luckily, but that would have driven me crazy. But yeah, like he's just taking too many hits, Colin. Whether I think some are probably his fault for holding it too long, some is clearly the injuries, some is the play calling. You know you have a beat up offensive line. Why are you trying these long developing routes downfield?
I mean, I mentioned it multiple times yesterday. It seemed like every time they get a really good first down play or maybe like build 1 or 2 plays back to back, they'd go to that deep shot. They'd try to get something going downfield. And again, you're playing guys out of position. Nate Davis isn't playing at all, but he's still somehow on the roster, which again is pretty questionable.
They should. I mean, if they were a serious organization, they would just cut him
at this point,
or pretend his injury's real. And again, maybe something flared up, whatever. Just put him on season-ending IR. Just get him out of the building.
Get that spot open for somebody else that could contribute.
Yep.
Because I don't know if he's not playing yesterday, at what point is he going to play this season?
Yeah, I mean, put him on season-ending IR and elevate someone from the practice squad. I mean, it's ridiculous. Paleo theory: Flus knows he's fired at the end of the year, so he's taking his sweet time, no accountability, and explains all these word salad answers. Well, he's had those from the beginning, though. He's never been a good press conference guy, but yeah, it's very possible he knows. Whether he's been told that or he just has the intuition like we all do, like, yeah, you're going to have to make a change. But it's a pretty bad look on the Bears if they've already came to that conclusion to, A, realize they made the mistake to bring this guy back, and B, doubling down on that and not making a change now and letting Caleb Williams play under this coach for 8 more games. I think that is just ridiculous to do. I could not disagree with it more.
Yeah. I also just would like to add, too, is not everyone can be Bill Belichick. Like, we sit there and we'll talk about press conferences, whether it's a head coach, whether it's a quarterback or whatever. It matters. Ultimately, how you come off, how you present yourself, how you communicate with the media, because regardless of who you are or, how long you've coached in other, high school, college, whatever, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that. Like, the media is a requirement that these coaches have to deal with on a week-by-week basis. And Eberflus is simply, again, he's had a lot of red flags, obviously, we see now, but dealing with the media, I mean, that's the reason we'll kind of bring this up with quarterbacks and coaches, is because it matters how it comes across. I mean, the body language, you even said it, Harrison, how it portrays the rest of the team.
The lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence.
I mean, just not good.
Not good.
Not good. All right, our first boom of the day. It's Brian. Baron still in. Boom! He says, this is an absolute shit show. Yes, it is. I am not an NFL coach, but where is Cole Kmet, I think you mean? Why wide receiver screens time and time again, and who is charge of the offensive line? It's exhausting. Someone has disturbing photos to keep this management team together. That would be Chris Morgan in charge of the offensive line, one of 2 coaches you held over from the Luke Getsy offensive staff, which that's an issue in itself. He's terrible. And, you're right. The whole thing's a shit show. I mean, there's no – how could you have faith in anything within this organization right now? I mean, you can't have long-term faith in the head coach, clearly. I like Caleb Williams and his talent a lot, but I don't see how you could have big faith in him right now. I don't see how you could have faith even in Ryan Poles right now, because where the fuck is he? Kevin Warren, I mean, the stadium's gone nowhere. That was the main thing he was brought in for. So it's a disaster from top to bottom. John T., how do you incentivize DJ to try phone it in? Well, one thing I would do immediately, Colin, and this is probably a miss on my part. They've tried to make him the X receiver in this offense. He is not an X receiver. He's not big enough. He's 5'11", and he's not, at least this year, that sharp of a route runner. He's a guy, get him on the move, get him in space. He's kind of a Debo with, historically, not this year, but better route running, but not quite the physicality, although he is really good after the catch throughout his career. And they've tried to make him the X receiver, which typically is a big body boundary guy that can run crisp routes. They should flip him and Rome's positions immediately. Rome should be the X, DJ's the Z, and then Keenan's the slot. And that's something you can do. Like, you're not going to install some new offense or anything, even if you change coaches, Colin, but there's little details like that. Like, you can make that change immediately, and that is something they should definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, just because DJ can play on the outside doesn't mean he has to be the guy on the outside as the X. And listen, Rome Odunze is leading in receiving yards this year. He's taller than DJ. I think he's already built kind of a semi-rapport with Caleb in the few throws Caleb's able to get off. So
he's a better route runner.
I think so too.
And by the way,
yeah,
it doesn't mean DJ can't still be your number one.
Right.
Your X doesn't have to be your number one. It's just his play style clearly has not worked as your X receiver. So that's something that should be switched immediately.
I agree.
The big tree issue goes up to the McCaskey family and their hires. No doubt. They're responsible too. Everyone's responsible. Starts at the top. Butters, appreciate all the super chats. Did you address the rumors about Ben Johnson not being interested in our organization? I'm hoping it's not true. I think Schefter loosely made a comment last week that I think he was like, why would he be interested in the dysfunction of the Bears? I don't know. I don't think it was really a report, but more of just like I think he was kind of using context clues, Colin, of like, if this guy didn't want to take a job last year, why would he take the dysfunctional Bears job?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, if you're Ben Johnson right now, like even if you are a Caleb believer, I'd be hesitant to take this job.
Mm. Yeah,
it feels like chaos.
I mean, it's less attractive of a job than it was
a month ago.
Yeah, a month ago, last offseason, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's if I'm Ben Johnson, right, and I mean, granted, I was listening to a podcast earlier. There's no great NFL job that's going to open up this offseason, which it never looks that way.
The closest one last year was the Chargers because they had Justin Herbert.
Right.
But even that team has a lot of issues that they're working through with Harbaugh. But clearly, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, and he was clearly the best. It was clearly the best coach that went to the best job.
Yep.
And Ben Johnson will have to evaluate if the Bears is the best job for him.
Corey B, at least I won't have my hopes crushed Sunday now. I hope we get destroyed so Poles realizes he's a moron for sticking with such an incompetent coach. Kind of the same way. I said it earlier, FGB forever, but I kind of hope the Bears get destroyed because now for fans it sucks, but like the people running this organization deserve to get embarrassed. They just do. I mean, they really, really do. So, and let's be honest, they're likely going to get killed. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not confident. Mike G, can't wait to hear them booed in and out of this tunnel this Sunday, and I hope 50,000 fans join the Fireflus chant. Yeah, it's going to get raucous because it's probably going to get ugly early, and the coaches and players are going to hear it. So get ready, fellas. It's not going to be good. Big Block Chevelle says, as of yesterday, I'm signing up for therapy. The McCaskies got to give it up and sell the team. They obviously can't run a franchise. Man, that would be amazing news if we got the noti that the McCaskey family was selling the team. But we've talked about this before, Colin. Why would you sell? I mean, the NFL is such a moneymaker, so it's doesn't feel very likely. TJ, I don't see the Bears winning again this year. Yeah, I mean, look, chances are they'll win a game at some point. I mean, we just saw Sam Darnold throw 3 picks against the Vikings and almost lose to Mac Jones. So, I mean, it's the NFL. Chances of the Bears actually losing their final 11 games, starting with the 3 they've already lost, is a long shot. But, again, they're probably going to be underdogs the rest of the way. So, I hear you, man. It'd be hard to pick them. Get the Fireflus chants in the chat. You guys know what to do. Get the Fireflus chants in the chat. Come on. Someone in the chat, Goff threw 5 picks and still won. Yep. That's a well-coached team. They're mentally tough. You guys may not want to hear it, but when I watch the Lions play, I enjoy it. They're fun to watch. They're well-coached. They don't really have any players that aren't easy to root for. What's to dislike about the Lions other than they're one of the Bears' rivals? Like, that is the answer. But, like, Dan Campbell seems like an awesome guy. Good culture builder. Ben Johnson, really creative, fun offense. Defense is scrappy. They just last night, Colin, they just hang in that game. And, when Houston cracked that door open, they knocked it down. So that's got to be the most impressive win of the season. I mean, you throw 5 picks on the road against a decent team and win. Imagine the Bears in that spot. Imagine Caleb throwing. Caleb's not turning the ball over now and they're getting killed. Imagine if he starts throwing 3 picks a game if they're still not scoring. You'll lose by 40. Yeah. You'll get destroyed.
I mean, it's literally they built it the right way. I mean, they literally moved off a franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford, swapped him for Goff essentially.
Which everybody's trade analysis was Goff is just some salary throw-in. The Lions did not view it that way.
No.
They thought they could get him back on track. Now, maybe they thought, okay, worst case doesn't work out and we draft somebody, but they felt like they could make it work with Goff. And not only has it worked, I mean, he's been awesome.
Yeah, he's thriving. I mean, last night, obviously notwithstanding, he still got the win.
Still played well down the stretch, made the plays he had to.
Yeah, I mean, they built the offensive lineup. They, got weapons surrounding him, both the receiving core and in the backfield. They built up their defense and, a lot of tough guys. They addressed, when they had an issue last year, right, in their secondary, they went out and addressed it with free agent signings and draft picks. Like, they just are run like a competent franchise. And you haven't been able to say about the Lions really most of my life. So,
I mean, my entire life. Even the couple years they made the playoffs with Stafford, it just felt like he and Calvin Johnson were just carrying the team. So I'm with you, man. We got the Fire Flus petition, by the way. I'll get caught up on the ones that we got in there earlier, but we'll get those all caught up. I'll start with Dennis here, the Chicago kid. $5 or more to get on. What is Dennis saying?
It seemed like we might move on from Shane, and assuming the new OC is from someone outside the organization, who are the top candidates?
Well, for the rest of the season, it's going to be someone internal, I would imagine. I think it'll be Thomas Brown or Kerry Joseph. Brown's called plays before. So, yeah, I don't expect it to be someone external. Now, in some twisted world, if Flus is back next year, then I guess they potentially hire someone outside, but please, God, don't let that be the case. Carl of RNG Podcast says Eberflus strikes again. Yeah, he's losing a lot. He is losing a lot. John T. What's John T saying? Imagine how much you'd make a day if you streamed all day with our Vinning Super Chats. What percentage is this on Flus or Waldron? What percentage is this on Flus? I mean, I don't even know. If there was a pie chart, I mean, I think Poles is in that pie chart. I think Flus is heavily in that pie chart. Waldron.
Some of it has to fall on Caleb a little bit.
Caleb a little bit, but I just think it's more organizational failure once again.
Yeah.
I think you really – the more time goes on and the more it's different players, yet the same shit happening, I mean, it's the organization. And that goes to the leadership. McCaskey family clearly in there. So, yeah, it's all of it, John. It's all of it. D. Jeremiah Warren, Poles' extreme loyalty to Flus is this regime's version of Pace fawning over Trubisky for driving a Camry and being a good guy. Poverty franchise.
What you saying about people that drive Camrys, my guy? What are you trying to say, man?
What are you trying to say?
No, but for real.
I mean, there is look, there's no doubt he's been way too loyal to Flus. It's like I'm not one to turn my back on somebody, but like your job as Ryan Poles is to do what's best for the franchise, not to make your buddy feel good. So it's hard to defend Poles when it comes to Flus at this point. It really is. Chris Ayers, for the love of God, make it stop. Please stop. Yeah, it's a disaster, man. Snack. Can't deny the Bryce Young trade. Worked out amazingly, but how does a GM with O-line background not care about the O-line? Take away the trade, and honestly, Poles' tenure looks okay at best. Yeah, it's fair. Outside of the trade, I'd say he's been average. He's had plenty of misses. So, and look, I think at this point we can't say the trade has worked out amazing because if you don't have the right coach and if you're not winning, who cares that you won some trade? Like at the end of the day, who cares? Like if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't really matter. Like yeah, it doesn't mean the Panthers somehow won't win the trade if you don't take advantage of it, but that doesn't mean you did something major with it either. Obviously, you won the trade. You got way more out of it, but you're not doing shit with it. So, as of now, it's just some transaction on paper that looks better for you. That's it. Paleo, Packers 42, Bears 10. I hope the Bears defense at least picks off Jordan Love. Well, that's very possible. He does a lot of picks, but I don't see the Bears winning. Oh, Bears winning. They won't win a quarter. I really do think they're going to get destroyed. But never know, I guess.
Which, again, like, I mean, especially, too, like, if the Bears get absolutely killed, say they get, like, shut out and they let up the point. So, like, again, I'm not saying this. I'm not even defending or saying anybody said this take. But if you're Flus, you're sitting there, you're probably like, oh, defense, we only allowed up 19 points last week, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not saying he said that or anything, but, like, in his mind, like, he's like, oh, if I just get a new OC, I can turn this around. And it's just, if he gets blown out against Green Bay, maybe. I just don't see that.
Here's the thing, too. If they get down early, they're going to fold. They will fold. So, barring a hot start, which I don't know if you've watched this season, has not happened once, they will get beat bad in this one. Tyler Jensen already decided I'm not watching the game. I'd rather spend that time being happy with my kids. I did put 50 on the Packers to beat the spread. Yeah, listen, not going to give gambling advice here, but Packers are only a 6-point favorite against a team that's in shambles and hasn't beaten the Packers in 6 years. So do with that information what you will. Bull Cartier official, you think Brian Johnson would be better? I mean, I don't even know where he is. Where's he coaching now? He was the Eagles OC last year, and they couldn't get rid of him quick enough. So that's hard to say. I mean, I don't think he's becoming a head coach anytime soon. He also said, hear me out, hire Nagy again. He actually won games. You're not going – honestly, even if some weird world you wanted to bring Nagy back, I actually think Nagy would be like, I'm good. Like, I'll wait for a different job. I don't think he wants it. Mike G, there was something on Twitter that Flus, Poles, and Waldron have the same agent. Yeah, they're all repped by Trace Armstrong, which that's a problem too. Scratch my back, I scratch yours. Not good, man. TJ, the organization has to have some policy where they can't fire a coach until after 3 full seasons. Any other team, Flus was gone at halftime. I don't get it. Well, I think the policy is this, TJ. They've never fired a coach midseason, and it's something they're proud of. And to me, it's just like, what? You're proud of just embarrassing yourself. You're proud of watching this product. And it's not a 3 seasons thing because Mark Trestman only was here for 2 years, so that's not some written policy. Josh Pike, you think we are the worst team so far this decade? I mean, you got to be up there, right? If it starts in 21, 6-11 in 21, 3-14 in 22, 7-10 last year, 4-5 this year. You got to be a bottom 3 or 5 record, and it feels like you're worse than some of these records. Like you're 4-5. Flus today, Colin says, we got to remember we are 4-5, and we have evidence of putting good tape out there. It's like, bro, do you have any feel? Do you have any feel? You've beaten no team's worth of fuck. And that good tape, it's been over a month.
I'm about to say.
Live in the present.
Yeah, it's NFL, some people say it's not for long. Like, what have you done for me lately? That kind of mantra. I mean, the time's expiring on that good tape.
This would be like me being like, yeah, I got a 1540 on my SAT 10 years ago. I'm sure I could do it again now. No. Like, that's not how this works. Ridiculous. Heinrichs. This year stinks. Had to sell my Niners tickets because my stepdad, who's a Niner fan, is sick with cancer. I would say bittersweet, but it's all just bitter. You Flus, you lose. Chuckling at that last line, not the rest of it. Hope your granddad or stepdad, is doing okay. Thoughts go out to you and yours. But yeah, I've had multiple fans. We saw one yesterday, this one now, talking about selling tickets because they don't want to watch this team. They don't want to spend their money on this team. So it's a shame, man. L'Aquarius Cook, watch us hire Josh McDaniels and Scott Fitterer. Stop. The only way McDaniels is here is if they hire Belichick as the head coach, and then McDaniels is the OC, which I don't really want, but I would take anything over what you got currently cooking. Buffmack, don't just fire Eberflus, exile him from Chicago. But what about his house with all the honeybees? Remember Hard Knocks? Good times, better times. Dennis the Chicago kid. Poles is not a dumbass. Something tells me the McCaskies are not giving him the green light to fire him. He's a logical GM. He knows he's not the guy. I hope you're right, Dennis. I hope you're right, because I will say this, though. I think if Poles wanted him gone after last year, he would have been gone. I think he wanted to give him a third year. So I don't know, man. There's been a lot of mixed reporting on, is this a Poles decision? Is this a is McCaskey decision? But yeah, this is all I know is it's bad right now. It's really, really bad. All right, we'll continue to work your questions in throughout the show. Appreciate everybody for donating. Hit that like button if you want to support us. I usually say if you love the Bears, but I know currently a lot of people don't love the Bears, so it's one of those tough things right now. But if you want to support Bears Now, hit that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. Jeffrey says Ben Johnson is just waiting. Is he? Would he take this job? Would he? I don't know. Brian Flores would look great on the Bears. Defensive guy, but at least he's kind of a badass defensive guy. He's hard-nosed. Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. You good over there? Little caps lock issue? Man. All right, let's get into it. We're going to react to Matt Eberflus's press conference from earlier today. It was about as bad as you could imagine. Live Q&A, so use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. It's hashtag Bears or Super Chat. And the Bears may not be ready to fire Matt Eberflus, but I am. So I'm going to dive into some head coach candidates for 2025. I got 15 guys digging deep here today on Bears Now because, like the Bears, we're searching for answers. Hopefully we find some because they have not been able to. All right, let's talk about it all next here on Chicago Bears Now. It's time to sound the alarm, folks, because 1, Matt Eberflus is still the head coach, and 2, there is no leadership in this organization. We're going to talk about it all here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham. Flus spoke to the media earlier today, and there's just major concerns based on his answers, some of the things he said, some of the things organizationally based from his answer that we should be very concerned about. We're going to dive into it all coming up here, but listen, I know times are tough. I know it's not fun with this team right now, but I'm bringing you content every single day, and I would appreciate it if you joined us. I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button for free. It helps me out, helps producer Coen out, helps us grow, and it helps our voice get louder, and maybe that will inspire change within the organization at some point. And when the Bears do make an official change, and I do think they're at least going to make one, we will have it covered. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us here at Bears Now. All right, let's talk about Shane Waldron. Is he set to get demoted or fired? I do think we're heading in that direction. Eberflus, when asked about Waldron, asked about potential OC change, kept saying we're in the process of that, just said they haven't, come to the final conclusion of what they want to do in terms of what changes they're going to make when it comes to any coaching changes at this point in time. And based on his answers, based on the lack of sitting there and saying, nah, Shane's our play caller, because he could easily do that, I do think he's clearly at least going to get demoted, if not fired. And if you're going to make a change, right? Like, what does demoting him do? Is he going to help with the game plan still? Like, I don't want him involved. Like, he needs to be out of the building if you're not going to have him be the play caller. So I do think that's coming. And, again, when that does come, we will hit you guys with a video reaction to that. But the reason you got to make change is because you are getting this rookie quarterback killed. He's losing his confidence. His first 3 games, it's like, okay, it's his first 3 games of his career, whatever. Next 3, built a lot of confidence. Play with tempo, got rid of the ball quickly, was playing with confidence and swagger, played really well. And then out of the bye week, these past 3 games, they were worse than the first 3 games against not as good teams. At least you played the Texans in that first 3-game stretch, and that defense, and the Titans' defense has been good this year. And let's face it, this offense since the bye week has been pathetic. And outside of the fourth quarter in Washington, where this team actually, lack of a better phrase, nutted up and had a couple of big boy drives, one which was taken away by your OC because he handed the ball to Doug Kramer, and the second, you punched it in. But they have not recovered as a team and as an offense since the Hail Mary happened. They just haven't. No touchdown drive since the Hail Mary. 23 straight offensive drives without a touchdown. Someone has to pay for that. And it's not going to be Caleb Williams. He's 9 games into his career. It's got to be the play caller. Now, you guys know where I stand. Matt Eberflus should get fired too, but it's pretty clear they're going to change play callers, probably to Thomas Brown in the coming hours or days. What do you think, though? Do you think firing Shane Waldron, is that enough? Is that a big enough move? Is that acceptable enough based on what we've seen? Or do you think more should happen? Why for yes, you do think it's enough. And for no, it's not enough. YouTube ad break coming up. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. After the YouTube ad, I will continue to give my analysis. Of course it's not enough. It is absolutely not enough. Now, it's got to be the bare minimum that happens. But Matt Eberflus clearly should pack his bags. There is no reason for him to still be this coach. Point to one thing other than he's got some decent raw defensive stats since taking over as the play caller. The team's been atrocious from a win-loss standpoint. They're horrible on the road. They're atrocious in the division. And today, Flus says, well, we have to remember we're a 4-5 team and we have a bunch of divisional games coming up, as if to point to, well, if we win a lot of those, we get the head-to-head matchups with those teams. Maybe we can catch up. Dude, these are the best teams you're going to play all year. You're going to get destroyed more than likely. He doesn't beat teams above 500. Guess where all the teams in the division are? Well above 500. And this is where you should really be concerned. When asked about any changes, someone asked him, I can't remember, it might have been Jason Leisure, I'm not sure, said, hey, have you and Ryan Poles talked? Is he involved in any potential coaching changes? And he said that they talk all the time, but it's ultimately my decision. He said, anything that we change, I've got the power to do it. It's on me. So that should terrify you. Why? Because he picked Luke Getsy. See ya. He wanted Shane Waldron. He's awful. We think Matt Eberflus, given a third try, is going to click the right buttons here? How is this even allowed? How is this even possible? If you're not going to fire Flus because you have this organizational stance of we don't fire a head coach midseason, we're proud of that, then you got to strip power from him on what to do with your other coaches. This cannot be allowed. He has proven he does not have the leadership or judgment traits to make a call of this juncture at this point in the season. What can he point to that he's going to start clicking the right buttons? Name a single impactful assistant coach that he has hired. Really on either side of the ball, but especially on offense. Who? Chris Morgan, the O-line coach, who's one of 2 coaches that stayed around from the Getsy crew, is horrible. He's the O-line coach and run game coordinator. Run game's worse this year. Offensive line is embarrassing. Getsy, terrible. Has been fired again. Waldron, I thought he was decent in Seattle. Clearly, I overvalued him. That's on me. I'll accept blame. But the Bears, they're the guys that they interview these guys. You listen to Shane Waldron talk, you're like, that inspires you? Just listen to him. It's the same with Flus. It's this guy inspires you? He hasn't brought in a single impactful coach. And you're just going to let him do it again. How is that even allowed? We're going to get to Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren in a second because you got to point the finger at those guys when it comes to this. All right. First up, we got to talk about our sponsor, Prize Picks. Appreciate Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. The best daily fantasy app in North America is Prize Picks with 10 million users and counting in more than 30 states. Speaking of more than, that's how Prize Picks works. More than, less than. They set stat projections, and you just take more or less on points, rebounds, touchdowns, yards, etc. Tons of statistical categories available, and the way to set lineups is easy. You just pick 2 or more players as long as they're on different teams, regardless of sport, and choose more or less. You can turn $10 into $1,000, which is with as few as 4 correct picks, depending on the type of entry. Get started today at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS when you sign up, because when you play initially for just $5, they're going to send you an additional $50 in bonus money into your account. I've got a little 2-player entry going on for Thursday. Jaden Daniels less on his passing yards, A.J. Brown more on his receiving yards. Should be a fun matchup there in that one. And I'm getting in on all the action, and so should you. So check out Prize Picks today. New customers get $50 bonus once they play for just $5, regardless if you win or lose that $5 entry. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to take advantage of that deal. Okay. I just got to rant more for a second. Where the hell is the general manager? Where the hell is the general manager? He's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. And I know, and we'll tie Kevin Warren into this as well, I know that a lot of people believe that the McCaskey family just handicaps their GM. You're not allowed to fire a coach midseason. And maybe that's the case. And like I said before, we talked about Prize Picks. If that's true, if Poles is not allowed to fire the head coach midseason, that doesn't mean you let Eberflus make other coaching changes. To me, Eberflus, you cannot give him any more power. Like, if you just refuse to fire him, okay, fine, Matt. You'll keep calling the plays on defense. You're still the head coach. You're not making any real decisions, though. We're taking those decisions out of your hands. I mean, this team is collapsing. No one knows where the GM is. Where the hell is Kevin Warren? Again, he's not some football expert, but he was brought in here to be the president of the team, supposed to be a real leader, get the stadium project off the ground, and everybody's like, oh, well, he's busy with the stadium. Well, where the hell are we at with that? There's no update. No update. No one knows if the stadium's going to happen. No one knows where it's going to be. Every time we hear something, it's, well, yeah, there's nothing new. He wants to do it on the lakefront. That seems impossible. It's just, where is the leadership in this organization? Will somebody step up and say, I'm not going to allow this to continue? And I don't mean, oh, well, let's fire Shane Waldron. I'm talking about, hey, this team sucks. This head coach doesn't have what it takes. I'm watching players half-ass every week now, and we're just going to keep trotting this out there. Somebody has to step up and say, enough. It's year 3. And guess what? At this point, Ryan Poles, if they fire him, can't really blame him. And I like Ryan Poles, but where the hell is he? And even if he's not allowed to fire Flus right now, fair enough. He still should have fired him last offseason. And I do believe if he wanted to fire him last offseason, they would have let him do that. I don't know that for sure. Maybe he wasn't allowed to then either. But he has spoke numerous times about his belief in Matt Eberflus. So I don't think he can just come out now and be like, yeah, I was handicapped. The organization wouldn't let me make a change. No, you've been in on this coach since the beginning. Now, maybe he's not allowed to do it midseason, whatever, but he holds accountability. He holds responsibility. And where the hell is he? Where is he? This is usually a GM we hear from somewhat frequently. I have no idea where he is. It's unbelievable. It's completely frustrating. You're just wasting another quarterback's rookie season. You're going to ruin him again because that's what this team does. Someone in the office earlier asked me, if Jaden Daniels was in Chicago and Caleb Williams was in Washington, how do you think things would be playing out? I said, Caleb would be playing better than Jaden. Not even because at this point I wholeheartedly believe he's a better player. I don't know. I just know this. At this point, the Bears, you can't assume they can develop any quarterback. There's just no evidence they can do it. None whatsoever, regardless of the coach, regardless of the player, regardless of anything. It's a mess, and it's so hard to watch. Do you trust anyone in the organization? Anyone in a position of power? Poles, Warren, McCaskey's, Flus. How could you? I do not. I'm typing my D for don't. Type T for trust if you do. And this sucks to hear, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are with me. It's hard to have any belief right now. And I know it's crazy to say it's only 3 games, but like when a team collapses this bad, this fast, it's a lack of leadership. There's no other way to put it. So what's next? Well, I think it's pretty clear Waldron's going to get demoted or fired. Thomas Brown is the most likely candidate based on his experience. That'll take over for play calling duties. And you'll limp to the finish line. You'll make this half measure, and you'll probably win 5 or 6 games total. And then you're starting over again. And then your GM, head coach, and quarterback are unaligned yet again. Because even if you only fire the coach and not the GM, if you're bad next year, then the GM's in the hot seat. It's bad, man. It's really, really bad. All right, hit that subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now. We'll continue to be here every single day, and win, lose, draw, good news, bad news. A lot of bad news lately. We got you covered. Mr. Cub, I would rather give my money to a group that wants to be the best, not a company that makes its customers constantly question their choices. Yeah, that's very well put. Very well put. John T. That's a little far, but yeah, let's get him off this team. Let's get him off this team, John T. He's not the answer. Neither is Matt Eberflus, but he's not the answer. Continue to get your questions in, #Bears or Super Chat. Get your questions on the show. After this mailbag, we'll get to some Bears head coaching candidates for 2025, so stay tuned for that. And we appreciate you guys for rocking and rolling with us here. Sound off. This is your time to get your thoughts across because it's it's a collaborative show with you guys. We want you guys to be involved, so sound off in the comments and get those questions in.
Yeah. Any question, any scenario, it could be as simple as why haven't they fired Shane Waldron yet? I mean, seriously. Whatever question you guys have on your mind.
I mean, how can Flus go up there and be like, yeah, we're in the process, we're still evaluating. Like, what are you still evaluating? That's why he should be fired as well.
You had, and that's the thing too, it's like, you had all this time, you knew you were going to have to answer, to the media. If you're going to switch and take the switch out, wouldn't you want to get ahead of it and try to give the new OC as much time to...
Dude, Mondays are when coaches start installing the game plan for the next game. There's no way you can be doing that right now if you haven't made a fucking coaching decision. I mean, I'm telling you, they are going to get killed on Sunday. They are going to get absolutely destroyed. It's tough, man. It's tough. And it's like, too, like, you were already getting questions about the play calling last week. You were already kind of alluding like, hey, like, yeah, it's got to be better. When you lay 3 points, when you have 3 points against the Patriots, it's like, what is there to evaluate? Like, you have to make a change. Everyone knows that. And they're obviously going to, but that should have been decided last night. I'm sorry, when you lose a game like that, you don't get to go home and have dinner with your family and all that stuff. I know that sounds harsh. That's this business, man.
Yep.
When you're in crisis mode, you should be going to the facility immediately and discussing next steps. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like they just went to bed last night and this morning started the process. It's like, you played at noon.
Yep.
You were away from the stadium by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, get back to work. I'm sorry. It sounds harsh, but like that's the job, man. Mm-hmm. That's the job.
We, kind of half jokingly said, like, if Eberflus got blown out by the Patriots, he should not be allowed to leave the stadium. It's like, did you have a conversation before you left the stadium? Doesn't sound like it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, let's. I'll answer this one, and then any other ones we can just throw them into the mailbag, Colin. And then if you need to circle back to other ones, but we can get some #Bears in there as well. Buff Mac, Eberflus should be put on trial for violating the 8th Amendment. I'm gonna feel stupid. I don't know the 8th Amendment off the top of my head, but do you know the 8th Amendment off of the top of your head? It protects citizens from excessive bail, fines, and cruel and unusual punishment. That makes sense.
That's what it is.
That makes sense.
Did you ever play that civic game growing up online? You like a lawyer? I don't even remember. You like learn what amendments to use.
Never.
I played the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one. Actual question: are you using any of the Eberflus generic big cam mics?
No, we've used all the new ones because of his beard and everything. So
Yeah, any ones that don't have the beard,
I'm uploading new ones.
you can fire those to the sun.
yeah, they won't be even used for much longer.
Like him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Agent Chartreuse. Well, yeah, I mean, cruel and unusual punishment. That's what he's providing us, Buff Mac. So you're absolutely right. Agent Chartreuse says lack of action is ridiculous and sadly wholly unsurprising. Yeah, I mean they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. They just don't get it. Sad, man. Really, really sad. All right. Yeah. This is that. We'll start the mailbag with Kevin Warren's question. This ought to be good. All right. #Bears Super Chat. Get your questions answered here on the show. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we got my top head coach candidates heading into 2025. Let's do it. Time for you guys to sound off on our Bears Now mailbag as chaos is ensuing at Halas Hall. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into Bears Now. Kevin Warren, if this is really you, you should fire Matt Eberflus. He says, what if they somehow beat Green Bay on Sunday? I think it would be the most shocking win of the NFL this season. And there's been a lot. I really do. I just don't see how, given the lack of mental toughness on this current team now, but also just the organization when they play the Packers, and just all the chaos. There is no way they beat Green Bay this week. I would be stunned. And quite frankly, if it happens, it would kind of make me nervous because we know the McCaskies love beating the Packers, even though they never do. They'd be like, oh, Flus, you can beat the Packers. Give them year 4. I don't think there's any chance. I would give it less than a 3% chance they win on Sunday. Benjamin, look at what the Lions have done over the last 4 or 5 years. They made wholesale changes from top to bottom because they broke away from traditions. Now they're reaping the rewards. Yeah, and look, when you bring in new guys, like, yeah, you got to hit, and they hit across the board. Brad Holmes, awesome GM. Brought him in from the Les Snead crew. Dan Campbell, people made fun of his opening press conference. The guy is a culture setter. Just look at how players act around him. I mean, he cares. The emotion he portrays. Ben Johnson is awesome. Obviously, we'll see how long he's there. People have given Aaron Glenn shit. I think he's done a great job, especially this year. And they've got a lot of talent. They've built up the roster nicely. They've hit on a lot of guys. So, there's a little luck involved. You got, you're not always going to hit. But, yeah, I mean, if Detroit, who's been irrelevant my entire life, is now kind of the standard in the NFC, that should give you at least hope that it could happen. But, yeah, I mean, it sucks to say, but the Lions are like, I watch them play, I'm like, they're fun. They're fun to watch. They're a good team. They're resilient. They're tough. They're skilled. I think they've got the best blend of grittiness and skill in the NFL. Like, they're never out of a game because they're so mentally and physically tough. And their skill talent, I mean, they're explosive too. So they're a good team, man. They really are. Predict it for us. Who will be the Bears head coach in 2025? Ben Johnson would be nice. What say you? Sound off in the comment section below. Carlos, #Bears. If the only way to fire Flus is to give up Caleb Williams and draft a new QB, are you doing it? I know this wouldn't happen. FYI, LOL. If that was the only way to fire Flus, yes, because I'm so out on Flus. I wouldn't want to do that because I believe in Caleb. I know he's struggling right now, but if that got Flus out, I'd have to sign up for it because I want him out that badly. Ron Pandy, why hasn't at least Waldron been fired? So we're live on a Monday here filming this. It's very possible, and I do think likely that he's at least getting his play calling stripped. But, yeah, I mean, why not make a decisive announcement Monday morning? We have relieved Shane Waldron of his duties. Now, if they were a real organization, they would fire the head coach, but clearly they're not. So, but they could at least do this. And instead, almost 24 hours after the game ends, they're sitting there saying, yeah, it's too soon to come to a declaration. No, it's not. You should have came to that conclusion Sunday night. It's been a mess for weeks now. L'Aquarius Cook, thoughts on Eric Bieniemy as head coach? I feel like he missed his window, honestly. He's the OC at UCLA. They're not that good. I'm not sure he's even getting interviews this cycle, if I'm being honest. So I don't think that ends up happening. Doesn't mean he won't get back into the NFL as an OC and won't have a chance in the future, but right now it seems pretty unlikely. All right, it is Packers week, believe it or not, and we do have FGB shirts available. You can pick one up at chatsports.com/FGB. Click and shop today. That link will be in the comments and in the description. Cam Morana, Brian Flores for head coach. I wouldn't mind it. I'd rather go offense, but he's at least an aggressive defensive guy. He's a very hard-nosed. But my only question is, can he connect with the quarterback? Because Tua hates him. And say what you want about Tua, but Tua outwardly hates the guy. That's a bit of a red flag because you got to be able to connect with quarterbacks. It feels like Flus just can't. Like that feels like a glaring issue there, and that's the risk of going defense. So, I would take him over Eberflus. I think his defense is more kind of dynamic scheme-wise, and this defense is already pretty good, and if you added new wrinkles, it could be even better. But I don't know. There's questions there. Ganji, who would you bring along with Vrabel if he was head coach? I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look into that more, but he's the one defensive guy. He's really just CEO guy that I would sign off on because he's got a proven track record. He's won with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. He's gone to the AFC Championship game. He's won a division. I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago when they were talking about Eberflus hot seat stuff, and one of the guys said, look, just hire Vrabel. Just hit a double, right? Like Ben Johnson, if you hit there, that's a home run. Maybe you have him and Caleb are united for 12, 15 years. Well, Vrabel, there's a pretty high floor there. You at least are bringing in no BS and credibility. Whereas, like any coordinator, it could flop. So Vrabel feels like a really safe bet to at least bring you competency, which, quite frankly, you could use in a major way. Bears Now as a family, subscribe to the channel. We're going to bring you videos every single day. We do these mailbags on our live shows, and we usually go live every Monday, Thursday, and game day. If there's breaking news this week with the coaching change, we'll be live for that as well. More than likely, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us. Savage, is it time to put Bates at center, or is the season done at this point? I don't know what that does. I mean, if they think he's much better than Coleman Shelton at center, then I guess you could do that, but you're so beat up on the interior, I'm not sure you really have that luxury because Shelton's one of your healthier players, and he's really only a center. I think we've seen it with Doug Kramer. When you have to put him at guard, he's so undersized, he's kind of just a center. So I'm not sure that solves anything, and I didn't think Bates played that well in his first game back anyway. Den of Clips, it's absolutely disgusting how Flus and Waldron have ruined two of the most productive offensive players last season, DJ and Swift. I don't think Swift's been ruined, to be fair. I think he started slow, but he's been better recently. Will we see DJ requesting a trade soon if Flus isn't fired? Well, you're not in trade request season because the trade deadline has passed, so even if that were a possibility, it wouldn't be till the offseason. Also, I'm not sure what he has to really stand on. I don't think he's played that well this year, and he just signed a huge deal. I mean, is he going to kind of pout and then request a trade? I mean, I guess he could, but throughout his career, he hasn't really been that guy, so they just got to recalibrate him because clearly they've committed to him long term, and they need him to be a big part of this team moving forward. Predict the score. How ugly is this going to get? Bears, Packers on Sunday. I'll have my official score prediction later in the week, but little teaser. The Packers as a 6-point favorite, they will win and cover that pretty easily. I just haven't decided how bad I think it's going to be yet. Marcus Ellis, I would try to get Slowik out of Houston. I think Slowik has lost a lot of steam. that offense feels like teams have adjusted from last year, and they have not counter-adjusted that well. They have not been that explosive. Now, Nico Collins got hurt. Stephon Diggs is out for the year now. Like, their O-line has issues. I'm not saying it's all on him, but I watched them play, and it hasn't been that impressive offensively this year. I mean, we watched the Bears play the Texans. I know the Bears have a good defense, but that game should not have been that close with the way the Bears offense played, and the Texans could not pull away. So I'm not completely out on Slowik, but I've definitely slowed down on him and soured on him a little bit. Luis Ramirez, how many more games do the Bears win this year? I'll set the number at 2.5. Y'all think it's more or less? I would take less on 2.5. I feel like they'll win 2 more games. They'll end up 6-11. They'll win. How about they'll beat Seattle at home and they'll win 1 divisional game? But I mean, they could lose them all. It's really on the table. So I don't think they'll win many the rest of the way. Appreciate all the questions. If you have any more, you know where to find me. Social media at HGramNFL on Twitter. Same handle on Instagram. If you got any questions, hit me up over there. I got to catch up on some DMs. I got a lot after the Patriots game, so I'll be sure to do that. At HGramNFL, go ahead and hit me up. Oh, man. These score predictions are something. Blake says Bears win 13-10. Mike Nintendo 49-14 Packers.
Marquand 59-6.
It's gonna be bad, man. I mean, the defense might keep them in it for a half, but it's gonna be really bad. Ryan in the chat says, "See you guys again when we do this in 2027." Ugh, same shit, man. Same shit. 76-0, 18 sacks. That would be something. All right, John T. In order of detriment, Waldron, Flus, DJ, Gerald Everett. Like in terms of who to blame for the offense or just the team. I will say this. I mean, does Gerald Everett do anything? Like, I actually like that signing. He's been like a 400-yard guy for like 5 years, and like they use him as a blocker when he's a receiving tight end, and he doesn't block. Like, again, just the personnel utilization call. I don't get anything that they're doing. None of it makes sense.
Cole Kmet's MIA, DJ Moore, or Keenan Allen's being used like a vertical, big body threat. DJ Moore and Caleb just are never on the same page. It seems like they go away from DeAndre Swift like too early in games, and
it's ugly, man.
It's ugly.
Anthony. In the military, we received the same Flus-type responses from leadership. It's a God complex knowing his bosses have his back no matter what. Question is why. Well, that's a little concerning to hear, Anthony. I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, I think like anything else in life, and I think it's definitely true in government, things like that, it's like, you know, you get these people in power, and they feel untouchable. I'm not saying Flus feels untouchable, but the way the Bears operate, like, he probably feels pretty confident they're not going to fire him during the season. So, yeah, and the question is why. That's a great question. If we knew the answers, we would get something changed. You good?
I'm laughing at something in our word chat. Feel free to take a look in Shorts and Social, but
spelling again?
No. Just read Aiden's response to PD. I'll read this next super chat. Blaine Adams, why build a new stadium for this team? No fans equals no money. I kind of said this before, and I'll kind of reiterate it. Even if the Bears had no fans in the stadium, they'd still turn a pretty decent project for like the entire season. Like they could have
profit,
no fans.
Yeah.
Profit.
Yeah.
I said project.
Yeah, I've explained this, guys, and look, like I do think it would send a strong message because what the NFL does not want empty stadiums, but yeah, they make a ton of money off TV. Like the TV deals, that's the moneymaker. So yeah, I mean, it's fair to say though, Blaine, like why would you want your taxpayer dollars to go to a new stadium when this is the product they put out there? I mean, I'm completely with you guys. Dallas Chris, Caleb 14 of 29 passing week 1. Flus after this game 14 of 29 as a head coach. Universe has literally given the Bears signs it's time to fire him. Interesting connection. I mean, sometimes you don't need signs though. Like sometimes I'm a believer in signs, just things in life. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But like, or you can just watch and it's like, he's just not good. I mean, it's like if you have a starting pitcher that has like an 8 ERA, 15 starts in. Like his 16th start probably isn't going to go well. You know? So, yeah, I think it's time. I think it's past time. I don't think he's the answer. I think the Bears know that, but they just won't do anything about it until the season ends, which is discouraging. Isaac, we had a good week of practice, though. Packers 31-10. Yeah, they looked inward all week. They looked inward. Woods, ended my NFL Sunday ticket subscription. I'm done. Done supporting a franchise that couldn't care less about the product on the field.
I mean, that's up there with the super chat we got yesterday, to be honest. You're ending your NFL Sunday ticket subscription.
Because you're so sick of the team.
I mean, that's
something.
That really is. And I can't say I blame you. I mean, if you bought it specifically to watch the Bears.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame. Emiliano, ownership interviewed head coaches before Poles was hired. Then when he was hired, he had to pick from the McCaskey's top 3 choices. And didn't Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard did not have a say in the decision. It was, who was it? It was help me out, chat. Who was the former Colts exec that was involved? He's old and retired now. Who was it?
Poland?
Yeah, Polian. Bill Polian.
Bill Polian. Bill Polian.
Yeah, see, Emiliano, I'm not saying that process was good, but I do know that Dan Quinn was one of the 3 finalists. Like, that's an obvious you choose Dan Quinn over Matt Eberflus. Like, that's not even – like, why would you not – like, I'm not defending the process, but, like, if that's true and he really only had 3 choices, well, then pick Dan Quinn, the guy who's had the job before, the guy who's been to a Super Bowl before. Instead, you take another defensive guy who's just got no track record. Makes no sense. No sense at all. Chad, been a lifelong Bears fan, and I'm hearing crazy things about Trace Armstrong. Have you heard the same? And we're in turmoil. I don't know about like what you mean by crazy things, but he represents the big 3, Poles, Flus, and Waldron. So you'd have to follow up in the chat, or if you don't feel comfortable, you'd have to DM me at HGramNFL in terms of crazy things. But yeah, it's not good. Troubled Trio, haven't seen you in a while. 60-0 Green Bay. Could you imagine? Wow, that would be something. Bears goated. At this point, I'm turning on Red Zone and rooting for fantasy. Don't blame you. Play Prize Picks as well. All right, we caught up. All right, shout out to all of you. Being real ones, almost 900 people still watching. That is awesome. Support on this channel continues to be amazing. Colin and I appreciate it. Let's talk about the future. Let's take a look at some head coach candidates for next year, because even if they don't hire one right now, you still feel like, barring some crazy turnaround, they will make a change in the offseason. So let's take a look at some candidates. We'll do that next here on Chicago Bears Now. I want to set a record on this channel for most likes on a video. If you want Matt Eberflus fired as the Bears head coach, hit that like button. Our channel record on a single video is 3,529 likes. And ironically enough, it was this video. Fire Matt Nagy today. Bears failed Justin Fields. And guess what? It feels like they're failing another quarterback. So hit that like button. Let's set a record, and let's get this head coach fired. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. On today's show, we're going to dive into some Matt Eberflus replacements. The Bears, unfortunately, are too big of cowards to make an in-season change, but still feels very likely that they will make a coaching change this offseason at head coach. And I've got 15 candidates to replace Eberflus for 2025. And look, what else needs to be said? The resume is just what it is. It's not good. He's just not a head coach in this league. He'll land on his feet. He'll be a defensive coordinator or a linebackers coach or whatever, but he cannot be this team's head coach beyond this year. They should have made a change last offseason, but this is where we are. My alarm's going off on my phone. Sound the alarm because the Bears and by the way, my phone works, unlike Matt Eberflus's. The real ones know. But all right, let's get to some replacements here. I'm going to go 15-1. Bobby Slowik at number 15, the Texans offensive coordinator. This time last year, I probably would have had him top, 5 or at least 10. Feels like he's lost a lot of steam. That offense has hit the skids. They have had a lot of injuries, though, with Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. O-line's not playing well. I don't think he's a scrub by any means, but I wouldn't have him as that serious of a candidate at this point in time. Zac Robinson, the offensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons. He's a McVay guy. First-year calling plays, so that would give me pause. But I think he's done a pretty good job with that offense. Darnell Mooney is a good example. He's been revitalized in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins is playing well, but pretty young, which I'm fine with, but only a one-year play caller. Let's see where he's at next year before he's getting head coach love. All right, number 13, Brian Flores, a guy I'm conflicted on. Obviously, the Vikings defensive coordinator. He was a head coach in Miami, where I think he was one game above 500. Certainly wasn't bad there, but a couple things. One, I don't really want to go defense again. I'd rather go offense. I am a Flores guy. I love his defense. I love his kind of just no bullshit mindset as a coach, but can he connect with quarterbacks? And a lot of you guys know I'm not the biggest Tua guy, but his inability to connect with Tua, Tua flat out hates the guy. He's gone public with that. The fact that he is comfortable enough to go public and just be like, I can't stand the guy, that's concerning to me, because you got to bring a guy that can come in here and connect with Caleb Williams. Now, I'm a believer in second chances in most cases. I think Flores would understand the second time around. He'd have to do a better job of that, but I have to have him lower on the list because, A, he's a defensive guy, and B, I'm not sure how he would connect with quarterbacks. I got Liam Coen at number 12, the offensive coordinator with the Bucs. You watch Tampa play. That offense is pretty fun. A lot of experience. He was under McVay with the Rams. He was an offensive coordinator at Kentucky for a couple of stints, including Will Levis's best season there, so take that for what it's worth. And he's doing a great job this year. I know the Bucs are 4-6, but Baker's playing awesome. If Evans and Godwin weren't injured, I think they'd at least be 6-4. I'm not sure he's ready to be a head coach, but he'd be a guy I'd be interested in interviewing at least. How about Kellen Moore? And the more I think about it, pun on words there, Moore, I'd maybe have him a little higher, but I'll have him at number 11 here. He's obviously gotten a lot of experience over the better part of a decade now. He was an OC in Dallas. He was a OC with the Chargers with Justin Herbert last year. Obviously, that didn't go that well just as a team, and I think you could put a lot of that on Brandon Staley, if we're being completely honest. But now he's in Philadelphia, and he's got Jalen Hurts playing at a high level again. Hurts' last 9 games last year when the Eagles started to fall apart compared to his 9 games with Kellen Moore this year, night and day. Way more accurate, better decisions. QB rating is up 20 points. Moore's running him a little bit more, but not too much, but a good balance there. He's playing to his strengths. A lot of deep shots, quick game, and running Jalen Hurts. And I don't think he's quite back to the level he was with Shane Steichen, but he's pretty close. And Kellen Moore's worked with a lot of different type of quarterbacks. Obviously Hurts, more of a running type. Herbert, a guy who can sit in the pocket and make all the throws. Dak Prescott kind of became a pocket guy as well. And the fact that he's worked with different quarterbacks, done well with different quarterbacks, he's got Jalen playing at a high level again, that's pretty impressive to me. You got to think at some point someone gives him a chance to be a head coach. Wouldn't shock me if it was Jerry, honestly. Just say, let's bring the Wonder Kid back, fire Mike McCarthy. But, I'm intrigued by Kellen. I would not mind taking a look there. Subscribe to Bears Now. We're trying to get to 108,000 subscribers. That's our next milestone here on the channel. If you want free and daily Bears content, the latest Bears news, rumors, coaching buzz, we're covering it all. So hit that subscribe button today for more coverage. All right, Zac Taylor, an interesting one. I got 3 coaches on this list, actually, that are currently head coaches elsewhere, including Zac Taylor, who, look, Bengals are 4-6. They're not punting on this year, and if they make the playoffs, they probably won't make a change. But if they do miss the playoffs, there's some buzz, some belief that they would make a pivot to a different coach. And Zac Taylor is at least intriguing, right? I mean, he went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago, made an AFC Championship game the year after that as well. Certainly a mixed bag. I don't really hold the first couple years against him. That roster was in shambles. I think last year was actually one of his more impressive jobs. He went 9-8 when Burrow missed half the season. But this year, they keep losing games they should not lose. So I think people are getting a little frustrated there. But offensive guy, has worked well with Joe Burrow. I would at least be interested. All right, let's get to one of the wild cards. Lincoln Riley, the head coach at USC, who, if you're a college football fan, if you keep up with the sport, that program is in shambles. I mean, they're just not very good at all. But you can't dismiss the relationship with Caleb Williams. And you know Caleb would sign off on it. You know he believes in him. He followed him from Oklahoma to USC. They've had a relationship since Caleb was 16 years old. If you're trying to do everything you can to get Caleb on the right track and to be your guy, I think you'd be at least remiss in not talking to Lincoln Riley. Now, is he my top guy? No, I have him at, number 8, number 9 there. I think there are red flags. Throughout his coaching career, he has not seemingly cared that much about defense. That's obviously a concern, but it is the Bears. They have good defensive players. You just get a veteran defensive coordinator to come in here. Ideally, you're in a pretty good spot there. Clearly, his stock is down, but part of that is you could probably get him, I would think. I mean, he might just jump at the opportunity, right? Because one more bad year at USC, they might just fire him anyway. So I'm not saying that's a reason to hire him. He's never coached in the NFL. That's always a red flag. But the Caleb thing is an interesting dynamic here. And I'm not saying you hire a coach just because of one player, but I think you'd be silly to not interview him and at least see if you think he's a viable option. What do you guys think? Would you hire Lincoln Riley? Type H for hire, P for pass. Let us know in the comments section down below. Again, not my top guy, but I would definitely talk to him. All right, number 8 here, Brian Daboll, another current head coach with the Giants. I still think he's a pretty decent coach. Now, his loyalty to Daniel Jones this far into the season, now by the time you're watching this, I think he's probably getting benched. We're filming this on Monday. Sounds like they're probably going to make a change. They probably should have done that a month ago. I get it, but he also took that team to the playoffs with Daniel Jones his first year there. I think he knows offense. Josh Allen took off with him when he got to Buffalo as the play caller. So I still think there's good in there with Daboll. I think there's some flaws there. Do you want to hire a young coach who just got fired? That's also true with Zac Taylor, but at least Taylor's made a Super Bowl. It's fair to question all that, but you interviewed him last time around. There's no harm in doubling down and taking a closer look. So he would be a name I'm interested in as well. We'll get to the top 7 in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Prize Picks. There's 10 million people and counting playing Prize Picks in North America. You should be one of them. Get in on all of the action. Football, hockey, basketball, other sports. You can cross over your sports with your daily fantasy lineups with Prize Picks. All you got to do is pick 2 or more players and pick more or less on the dozens of stats available for certain players. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus once you play for just $5 after you create your account. If you're a new customer, take advantage of this deal. Little example of a Prize Picks lineup, 2 players on 2 different teams. You got Jaden Daniels less on his passing yards. His passing yardage has gone down in recent weeks. A.J. Brown, love the Moore there. And might get a good matchup with Lattimore. We'll see if he plays this week. Check that out, 5 to win 15. But again, if you're a new customer, if you use code CLNS when you sign up, doesn't matter if you hit or miss your initial $5 entry, you're going to get a $50 bonus into your account. So what are you waiting for? It's easy and exciting daily fantasy. Pick more, pick less. It's Prize Picks. Link is in the comments and in the description. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. All right, I do have to put Bill Belichick on here. I think most of you guys know where I stand. This makes me really nervous. I thought it ended terribly in New England. Now, if he's just the coach and not involved in player personnel that much, could I talk myself into it? Probably, but he's old. It ended poorly. I don't think he's that great of a relationships person at this point in his coaching career. You would almost certainly get Josh McDaniels as the OC, which that makes me nervous. Feels like that could go one of two ways. I would probably pass. I think you should certainly interview him. I mean, you can always learn from interviewing anybody, but certainly a coach who's considered the best, if not one of the best coaches of all time. I don't think I would do it, but you'd be stupid to not talk to him. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills. Things were sputtering a little bit with Ken Dorsey as the play caller there. They turned to Joe Brady second half of last year. Offense gets going again. Josh Allen starts doing a better job. He's also brought balance to that offense. They run the football really well with James Cook now. So he's kind of rebuilt his stock. Remember, he was on that LSU staff when Joe Burrow was the quarterback, when they just put up crazy numbers. Everybody thought he was the next big thing. He sputters in Carolina, but he's kind of gotten back on track here, and I think he's going to get some head coach interviews. I think a name we should talk about more, just in NFL circles, but I think potentially for the Bears as well, is Todd Monken. He's 58 years old, so he's not a young, spry chicken, but he also has a lot of experience, and you could make a strong argument that he's guiding the best offense in the NFL currently. The Ravens are first in points per game, first in yards per game, third in passing yards per game with Lamar Jackson. People did not think, as much as people have always liked Lamar, they've never been considered like a high-volume, potent passing attack. First in rushing still, despite the increase in passing, and they only have 6 turnovers, despite throwing the ball, despite being more aggressive. And no, it doesn't stop there. They're first in red zone touchdown rate. Now, when you have a dynamic runner at quarterback, it's, that helps. Derrick Henry does too. Third down rate, they're fourth. I mean, they're top 4 across the board in every offensive team category that matters. And I know Lamar's already won 2 MVPs, but Lamar is having the best year of his career, especially as a passer. He won the MVP last year. He is dwarfing the numbers that he put up last year. He's never been more accurate. He's never thrown for this many yards. He's going to throw for well over 4,000. He's never done that in his career. The touchdown to interception ratio is 12-1 right now. 24 touchdowns, 2 picks. His QB rating, 123 is crazy, guys. If you're at 100, it's exceptional. 123 is out of this world, and he's still rushing a lot. Now, obviously, Caleb's not Lamar, all this stuff, but, Todd Monken has gotten the best out of Lamar Jackson by far. You were seeing it times last year. He won the MVP. It was a weak MVP year in his first year, but in year 2 with him in that system, this offense is at a whole new level. And, yeah, they have good players. And, yeah, Derrick Henry's helped elevate that team. It's not like they have, the best receivers in the league, though. Like Zay Flowers, good player. Mark Andrews, good player. Rashad Bateman, when healthy, good player. Do they have a single elite weapon on offense other than Derrick Henry? They have a lot of good players, which, hey, I wouldn't be bitching about the players they have. I'm just saying a lot of these guys have been there, and Lamar has never looked better. So I like Todd Monken. I like his offense. And just a little side nugget, too. Since leaving Georgia, that team hasn't quite been the same the last 2 years. Still good. Not quite the same, though. Cliff Kingsbury, it's got to be said. Kind of another wild card. I think there's a lot of questions. I think it's fair to wonder if he can be a high-level head coach. It just went okay in Arizona before it petered off. The one year they started like 8 or 9-0 or whatever, and then kind of skidded to 11-6, lost in the wild card round. And that does give me mixed feelings because obviously, again, like with Lincoln, has the relationship with Caleb Williams. I do think he wanted this OC job, and the Bears went with Waldron instead. He's done a great job with Jaden Daniels. But I do wonder, like, is he just an offensive coordinator? Like, I feel good that he's a really good offensive coordinator. Can he lead a football team? And look, that's true with all coordinators, right? Like, that's true with Ben Johnson. We don't know. We're going to get to him in a minute. But we have seen Cliff have the job before, and it just went okay at best. So I get being hesitant. I would too. You know your quarterback would like it. You know the offense would be better. Would the team be better in the short and long term? I can't think it'd be worse. The question is how good could it get? Like, is Cliff a guy as a head coach that you could see be coaching in NFC championship games? I don't know. I think that's a fair question. Would you guys give Cliff a shot at being this team's head coach? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Wouldn't argue with you guys either way. It's certainly up for debate. I think a guy that's incredibly underrated is Kevin Stefanski, third active head coach on this list. And again, we don't know if these guys are getting fired or not. And if they don't, you can't poach them unless you trade for them, which I would not do that. And most guys don't become available via trade as a coach. It's only rare circumstance. But it does feel like the Browns could scapegoat Stefanski. Now, I think they'd be stupid to do that. But it wouldn't shock me. Like if they limped to 5-12 or something like that, 4-13, I could see them just making a change. This is the Browns after all. But I think what he's done in Cleveland is really impressive. I mean, he won a playoff game with the Browns. This is the Browns we're talking about. He made the playoffs last year. Joe Flacco, which by the way, before Flacco got there, he was terrible for like the last 5 years. This year, if you've really watched Flacco, he's not that good. Like, he was playing his best ball in like 6 years last year, off the couch with Stefanski. And I'm not saying this is like some world beater resume, but when you consider the organization he's doing it for, dysfunctional Cleveland, what do we say about Chicago a lot? Dysfunctional. He's been around dysfunction, and he's overcome it, like, to a large extent. I'm not acting like this guy's won a Super Bowl or something, but you add all that up, the Watson thing has been a disaster, and I have no idea how involved he was in that decision to bring him in there. But to deal with all of that and still have some success in that run up to this point in Cleveland, and again, I don't know if they will fire him or not. I think it's pretty impressive. I like his offense. I think he's a good play caller. I know he gave it up recently to Ken Dorsey, but I think that's more organizational pressure. They're just losing a lot right now. I think he'd be pretty good here. Mike Vrabel, I have a clear top two here. Vrabel at number 2. Again, he's not, some offensive guy you pair with Caleb, but he's just a no-nonsense coach. He brings instant credibility. And I've mentioned this on the show, and I'll mention it again. I was listening to a podcast a few weeks back, and one of the guys just said, listen, the Bears, they should just try to hit a double. Don't try to hit a grand slam, although the next guy we're going to talk about in a second, you'd be trying to do that. I would take that swing. But if you can't get the next guy, Vrabel's the guy I would go get because it's safe. It elevates your floor. And I'm guilty of this too. Like, long term, I want this team to win Super Bowls. But, let's get to the playoffs. Can we get to the playoffs? I think Mike Vrabel can get you to the playoffs. Whether or not he can get to a Super Bowl, that remains to be seen. Let's be a team that's getting to the playoffs, and then we can evaluate further from there. I think Vrabel proved in Tennessee with limited talent at quarterback that he brings instant credibility, no-nonsense guy. I would hire this guy in a heartbeat. And then at number 1 is the grand slam I would swing for is Ben Johnson. Look, could it blow up in your face? Absolutely. But we're going to show you the offensive numbers, which obviously have been impressive, what he's been able to do with this offense and with Jared Goff. I think that all speaks for itself. But you got to think, being around Dan Campbell, being around that group of players and that organization, the will to win that they play with. I mean, you watched that Texans game the other night. There is no reason they should be able to overcome 5 Jared Goff interceptions in one game, which kind of makes his TD interception ratio this year not look as good. He's still been fantastic. 5 of those picks in one game. But being around that culture, you would have to think he would learn from those experiences and not only bring in the creative play calling and offensive mind and ability to mesh with Caleb Williams, but the ability to build a culture and lead a team. Because that's what you need ultimately as well. Ideally, you bring in an offensive guy who can get the offense going, but can also lead the team. And I think Ben Johnson gives you the best chance at that. Is it a guarantee? No. That's why I said you're swinging for a grand slam. But I have a hard time believing that it would completely flop, that he would just be completely overwhelmed, because he's been around such high-character guys for years now. And he's played a role in that team becoming a juggernaut. So I think he's a part of a winning culture. I think he would bring a lot to the table, both with X's and O's and ideally with leadership. That's the type of stuff you learn in interviews, obviously, so they would be able to learn that stuff. He's my top guy. Vrabel's a clear second. And then after that, there's pros and cons to everybody else that's kind of still out there. So what say you? Who do you want as the next Bears head coach? One name, who you going with? I'd take Ben Johnson. Vrabel would be a close two. Let us know in the comments section down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because if and when Matt Eberflus ever gets fired, we will be live breaking it down. Any other news that drops, we're covering it on this channel as well. Daily content here on Bears Now. Do not miss out. All right. Alrighty. Who do you guys want?
A lot of Ben Johnson, seeing Vrabel, Hightower been thrown out there. Someone said Tom Brady.
Hightower could be an interim. He's the Bears special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
I think he's saying that because next head coach, he's saying, I don't want to wait till the offseason. Get an interim in there now. Signetti. Signetti Hive, stand up.
It's growing by the day, I will say.
Signetti Hive, stand up. Oh, man.
Matt Eberflus, I'm not leaving. This show must go on. That show needs to be canceled immediately.
Say what?
Eberflus in the chat. I'm not leaving. The show must go on.
Yeah, that's like when local cable releases a pilot and it draws like a 0.7 share. It's like there's no episode 2.
Nope.
It's got to be canceled immediately.
Let me see.
When we sign off, check chit chat.
I will in a second. Hui. Got a super chat coming in though from Mr. Anthony Harris.
Okay. He says, game plan for the Bears offense, cover one man with zone fire, blitzes, and stunts mixed in, which has been the formula. Sad for a pro team. Do you agree? Yeah, I mean, clearly this team has not handled pressure well. The O-line hasn't handled it well. Caleb has not handled it well for the most part. Yeah, I mean, you would think you'd find some sort of an adjustment. I think one big adjustment that helped during that 3-game winning streak, it was just the quick game in general, but they had the screen game rolling, calling it. It seemed like they were calling them at the right time. And have they hit on a single screen since the bye week? I can't remember one. So, yeah, it's been bad. Arthur Zerniak, my question is, why would Ben Johnson want to come here and coach in this environment stemming from ownership down? I have no faith in Bears ownership. It's a fair question. I'm saying that's just my list. I have no idea if he would take this job. He would have good reason to be hesitant. But that's who I would try to get. And, that's what I would be trying to do. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting few weeks, couple months leading up to the offseason. And we're going to have it all covered. But appreciate everybody that is tuning in, that has tuned in. I know there's still 800 people watching. Shout out to all of you for rocking and rolling with Coen and myself. We're going to let you guys go. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hit that subscribe button and bear down as always.